price a sticking point as Antigua seeks to gain a stake in Scotiabank operations. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, July 16th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The Antigua and Barbuda government says it's prepared to meet directly with Scotiabank over the acquisition of its local branch. This after complaining that the Trinidad-based Republic Financial Holdings Limited, which is purchasing the bank's operations, is seeking a price that is about 300% the bank's value for the stake the Twin Island nation wants in the financial institution. Earlier this month, Prime Minister Gaston Brown indicated that his administration had received positive feedback from Republic on a proposal that would allow a consortium of local banks and the government to own at least 40% of Scotiabank in St. John's. But he told the radio program that while Republic had agreed in principle, he was not happy with the value they were putting on the branch. The Prime Minister said if Republic was prepared to accept the government's offer to pay them whatever they pay Scotiabank Canada, they would have a deal. If that doesn't happen, he says he's willing to cut them out and negotiate directly with Scotiabank. Republic is seeking to acquire Scotiabank operations in Antigua and Barbuda, Guyana, St. Martin, Anguilla, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Guyana's opposition leader Bart Jagdeo has accused President David Granger of delaying the selection of a chairman for the country's elections body. He leveled the allegation on Monday after disclosing that the president had shortlisted two of his own choices for the position. Government and opposition delegations met twice last week in an effort to find a replacement for retired Justice James Patterson, who resigned as chairman of the Ghana Elections Commission, GECOM, after the Caribbean Court of Justice ruled that the process used to appoint him was flawed and unconstitutional. Under the Constitution, the opposition leader submits a list of 6 people who are not unacceptable to the president for him to select a GECOM chairman. But President David Granger submitted his own list of 8 last week and over the weekend cut that down to 2. Jagdeo said the move caught him off guard, given that he was seeking to have further discussions. We get more in this report from Newsroom's Neil Marks.
Over the weekend, the Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, Joseph Harmon, informed the opposition leader that the President had shortlisted attorney Cassandra Oz and Justice Claudette LeBennett from a previous list of 8 he had suggested for the post of Chairman of the Ghana Elections Commission. The correspondence came as a surprise to the opposition leader. Following the orders by the Caribbean Court of Justice last Friday, the President said he was prepared to appoint a new chairman of the Elections Commission by Monday. The opposition leader wrote him immediately after his address to the nation on Friday afternoon to say he was prepared to work through the weekend to achieve that objective. But the President's office replied with a suggestion of the 2 names.
So he did not respond to our request for a meeting and to say we are available to meet throughout the weekend. Suddenly we received this letter that we must consider these 2 names from the list of 8 names that they had submitted before. So there was no further clarity on the matter.
The opposition leader then sought clarification of whether the informal process of face-to-face meetings had ended, and he spoke with Mr. Harmon directly, who said no, and that the President was interested in a face-to-face meeting. But up to this afternoon's press conference, there was no meeting scheduled.
So the President can't want to claim the urgency, and he's prepared to make an appointment by Monday, and then have his minions declare that they still want the consensual process to move forward, issue a press release to that effect, and then not be prepared to meet. So far, we've wasted the whole weekend, so people can see who is delaying the matter. The whole country could see that.
There has been no clarification of whether the names submitted by the opposition leader are acceptable to the President or not. The talks between the 2 sides broke down last Thursday, with the opposition saying it could get no clear indication from the government of which names the President definitely has no problems with.
Meantime, U.S., British and European diplomats in Guyana are urging the country's leaders to abide by the CCJ orders on the GCOM chairman and the elections that are due following the court's validation of the no-confidence motion passed against the government in December last year. More in this Capital News report.
The United States of America's ambassador, United Kingdom's High Commission to Guyana, and head of the European Delegation Union to Guyana all issued a joint statement Monday, July 15, following the issuance of the Caribbean Court of Justice definitive orders on 12 July 2019. The Caribbean Court of Justice, Guyana's final court, has spoken, the joint ABCU noted. The ABCU urged that it is important to the rule of law that all invoked actors abide by its ruling and the relevant provisions of the Constitution. The ABCU urged all players to do so expeditiously. The contentious issues are the appointment of a chairman of GCOM, which is key to the holding of elections. Further to that, the opposition wants elections within 3 months with an expired official list of electors, OLE. Meanwhile, the governing APNU-AFC said that for credible elections to be conducted, house-to-house registration is a must to cleanse an expired and largely padded voters list before moving forward with credible elections.
Government and opposition representatives from Venezuela will resume discussions in Barbados to find a solution to the economic and political crisis in the South American nation. The two sides met in Bridgetown last week at the invitation of Norway, which is mediating in the dispute that was sparked by attempts by opposition forces supported by U.S. and other Western countries to oust President Nicolas Maduro. They gave no indication of what progress had been made during that round of discussions, but the communications team for opposition leader Juan Guaido, who's declared himself interim president, said the delegation was returning to Bridgetown to achieve change that can end the suffering of Venezuelans. Trinidad and Tobago's President Paula May Weeks is concerned about the xenophobia and racism in the Twin Island Republic triggered by the influx of Venezuelans. And addressing the 44th Annual Conference of the Caribbean, Americas and the Atlantic region of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, she called on Parliament to intervene to ensure job security for citizens while at the same time making sure Venezuelans are afforded the opportunity to legally work.
In Trinidad and Tobago, although the influx of Venezuelan migrants has seen an outpouring of generosity and kindness on the part of some Trinbagonians, it has also opened a window into our parochialism, xenophobia, and racism.
President Paula May Weeks speaking about ethnic nationalism during the opening of the CPA's conference, which is dealing with the issues of globalization and nationalism.
Hostile and derogatory comments about migrants are made on social media and talk radio, all in the name of patriotism. It is for our lawmakers, representing the views, interests, and aspirations of those on whose behalf they speak, to set the tone. Our people will follow where we lead.
The government has said 16,543 Venezuelans were registered over a 2-week exercise to allow them to work in Trinidad and Tobago for 1 year.
Take, for example, the issue of immigration, a pressing concern for our workforce in Trinidad and Tobago. Consensus on how to implement relevant legal frameworks and fulfill our international obligations seems elusive, and our people are anxious for clear, equitable, sustainable and humanitarian roadmaps for the long and short term. Only Parliament can provide that comfort.
While making no specific reference to Trinidad and Tobago, the Secretary General of the CPA spoke of entrenched fears that are often associated with unprecedented waves of immigration.
The fear of loss of national culture and identity is compounded by a lack of control at borders and undesirable immigrants and potential terrorists entering into one's territory. Third, accompanying the distrust and the fear are anxieties, of course, around the deprivation of loss of jobs and income, along with a strong sense that the ethnic and social group are being left behind to others in society.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley did not make any direct reference to Venezuelans in his remarks.
Whereas globalization once promised the removal of barriers and to open doors and to open borders, the creeping rise of radical nationalism is breeding dangerous discontent and disunity as regional alliances fracture.
That report from Jewel Brown of TV6 News. Coming up, Jamaica's Justice Minister says no to a call from the Integrity Commission for an anti-corruption court. Stay with us.
I've never seen before, really. Trinidad and Tobago measuring the beer at the tablespoon only.
Here over by Trinidad and Tobago, we are having the ground beef in a bowl, and to that bowl, interesting enough, is capers.
Of dolphin, 2 nice fillets of dolphin. I'm sure she's going to take what she wants from that and return the remainder to the fridge as well.
What are the key signs that start to indicate someone might not be safe in a relationship once they've gotten that far?
Yeah, so if you get to a point where the person you're dating wants to see your social media accounts, they want to know what you're posting and how you're posting it.
Oh my goodness.
If they're asking you what you're doing with your time, if they get upset because you're spending too much time with friends or because you're spending too much time with coworkers outside of work, that's definitely a red flag.
Welcome back. Jamaica's Justice Minister Delroy Chuck has rejected a proposal from the country's Integrity Commission for a special court to be set up to deal strictly with corruption matters. The call was made in the Commission's annual report on the basis that parish courts are currently overburdened and have a backlog. But Minister Chuck says it's not a special court that's needed.
Various agencies have asked for municipal courts, gang courts, more drug courts, and a wide variety of courts. What is needed, and which is exactly where the Chief Justice is going, is to ensure that cases are efficiently and speedily dealt with. Once we have a situation in which the parish courts and the Supreme Court are dealing with cases expeditiously and speedily, then the need for specific courts are not necessary.
The world's largest provider of crop inputs and services is examining the possibility of a multi-million-dollar plant upgrade in Trinidad and Tobago. The announcement was made during a meeting on Tuesday with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and executives of the Canadian-based fertilizer company Newsline. A government statement said the plant upgrade is expected over the next 6 months. Newsline also received an update on the work completed in the local energy sector to secure the viability of the gas upstream and downstream industry. The statement said both parties reiterated their commitment to working together and building a strong partnership that is mutually beneficial. Newsline Trinidad is the country's largest ammonia producer and one of the largest nitrogen manufacturing complexes in the world. The company's business in Trinidad and Tobago accounts for more than 35% of its global production portfolio. Belize Sugar Industries Limited is reporting its largest season to date with over 1.3 million tons of cane harvested. The 2018-2019 sugar cane crop closed on Monday, and officials say the figures surpassed expectations. We get more in this Channel 5 report.
The exceptional sugarcane deliveries also helped to boost this year's sugar production. That number is up by over 10,000 tons more sugar produced. It's another big record, although final numbers are not yet in. Olivia Carballo Aviles of ASR BSI says that the quality sugarcane and weather contributed to this boost in sugar extracted.
We were able to extract more sugar out of the cane that we got, at around 155,000 tons of sugar and more. We're still finishing the sugar processing at this time, and the record before that was 144,000 in 2017. So that is actually more than 11,000 tons of sugar more than our record. We are very happy. We congratulate the farmers as well for bringing in very good quality cane.
But while this is all good news for the ASR-BSI, there are a few farmers who didn't get to deliver all their canes this year. A survey will follow to determine what percentage of canes is still in the fields.
We don't think it's a great number, and a lot of the issues centered around not being able to have enough cutters and or loading trucks. That is what some people are reporting.
ASR-BSI is also making a big change in the type of sugar they produced. The transition is from a mostly fully raw milled sugar to a direct food consumption sugar, or also known as a food-grade sugar.
So the food-grade sugars that we currently have are the white, plantation white sugar, which we get in the stores. And if you notice, it's a lot finer, a lot whiter than several years in the past. We still have the local brown, that is food-grade. We have the EU Demerara sugar, which is exported to EU, and then the EU for CARICOM. We have one sugar from that we export to Canada that is confectionery, has specific crystal sizes and color.
Aviles says that ASR-BSI can do a lot more in terms of planning, projection, and analysis of a season, but many farmers are not using the data input system.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies A lose their ODI series against India. We'll be right back.
Make it what you want. Make it what you want. Make it what you want. Make what you want.
Let's talk a little bit about flowers.
Okay, so we actually, so for flowers, flowers is actually, the video right now is the flowers coming out of my mouth, right? Which is like this kind of play on, kind of rejecting the norm, right? Of like, you know, the flowers song is really about like, bring me you, bring me an apology.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
A classy century from middle-order batsman Manish Pandey and 5 wickets from left-arm spinner Krunal Pandya ensured India A their 3rd straight victory in the 3rd unofficial ODI series after they whipped West Indies by 148 runs on Tuesday. Batting first at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium, Pandey smashed 100 from 87 balls as India A raced through their 295 for 6 off 50 overs. Opening batsman Shubman Gill laid the foundation for the visitors as he made 77 off 81 balls. Hanumara Vihara and Inshan Kishan chipped in with 29 and 24 runs respectively. Romario Shepherd and Rakeem Cornwall picked up 2 wickets each for West Indies A. In reply, Pandya took 5 wickets for 25 runs as the Windies side capitulated on 147 of 34 overs. Kimo Paul top scored for Windies A with 34, while Sunil Ambrose added 30 and John Campbell chipped in with 21. The victory for India A means they've captured the 5-match series 3-0 with 2 more matches remaining on July 19th and 21st in Antigua. Former West Indies fast bowler Fidel Edwards snatched a 5-wicket haul for Hampshire in the English County Championship on Monday. Playing at the Rose Bowl in Southampton, the 37-year-old finished with 5 for 118 as Kent, resuming the third day on 319 for 3 in their first innings, was dismissed for 555. Fellow seamers Gareth Berg and Keith Barker claimed 2 wickets each. England batsman Joe Denley slammed 154, while captain Hino Kun, Daniel Bell-Drummond and veteran Darren Stevens supported with half-centuries. Trailing by 146 on first innings, Hampshire ended the day on 119 for 2 in their second innings. Over to football now. Guyana and St. Lucia picked up wins in their opening encounters of the CONCACAF Under-20 Women's Championship over the weekend. Isan Griffith of Capital News has the details.
The Guyana Lady Jags, the Under-20 football team, commenced their campaign in the CONCACAF Women's Championship on a winning note when they defeated Bermuda 2-0 in an intriguing contest on Saturday last at Lenora. Guyana's goals came from a double by midfielder Gina Knights in both quarters of the match to give Guyana the perfect start in the tournament. Next contest will come from Antigua and Barbuda. According to the head coach, Ivan Joseph, the focus of the team is to take one game at a time in the tournament.
It's a tough game, and if you can see, we had people just barely hanging on. You know, this game means nothing if we don't take care of business. I'm not even sure who we're playing next because my mind was just on today's match, but tomorrow's a recovery day. We've got to eat right now before we even leave the stadium to make sure we're ready to go, and then we watch tape and decide who do we play and how do we play, right? And, you know, I thought we had some good performances from everybody, and now it's to take a moment to celebrate, but then turn our heads to the next game.
Also in their opening encounter, St. Lucia stunned Suriname 4-3 to win that match. St. Lucia Tanika Bernard blasted a hat-trick in the 28th, 57th, 64th minute to seal the team's victory.
Staying with the sport, but heading over to Jamaica, there are concerns about whether the island will have its Women's League competition this season. TVJ's Karen Madden explains what might be the holdup.
After limping along following Sherwin Williams' pullout 3 seasons ago, the Jamaica Football Federation National Women's League seems set to suffer the same fate this season. The country's national women's program received a huge shot in the arm when the senior women's team, the Reggae Girls, qualified for FIFA's Showpiece tournament. But despite an influx of sponsorship support, including Sherwin Williams, the JFF has admitted that it is still struggling to find a league sponsor for the 2019 season.
The truth of the matter is that we are waiting for a title sponsor. We have not yet acquired one, and this is something that we are working assiduously to fill, and hopefully in the very near future we'll be able to say that we do have a title sponsor.
National head coach Hugh Menzies has said that the country needs a league which lasts at least 6 months to get local-based players at the level to warrant national selection. But JFF General Secretary Dalton Wint says while sponsors are nipping, that may not happen anytime soon.
We have asked our present sponsors to come forward and to support the girls in the Premier League, but they weren't able to do so at this time. But we, as I have said, we are working on other interests. Hopefully we'll be able to announce that we have a title sponsor for this league.
Switching sports now, Ghana will field a much larger contingent for this year's Commonwealth Games, and the team will be participating in 2 events for the first time. HGP's Jaden Samuels tells us more.
Of many waters will once again be part of the 18th Commonwealth Games, with the expectations much higher than in recent years. This time around, the locals has mustered up a larger contingent, which has been dubbed the best in recent years. At a recent meeting with the heads of the respective disciplines representing the Golden Arrowhead, the coaches expressed optimism for a great outcome. For the first time, Guyana will be represented in table tennis and squash, two new additions to the ever-growing Commonwealth Games contingent. Speaking at the Guyana Olympic House at a meeting with the various disciplines, the coaches said the expectations are high.
Our athletes may not be in the top 100, but they're still also pretty young. They can get there with maturity. But what is also important for us to note is that these athletes would have qualified for the games, which tell you, and they're pretty young as well. So it tells, that there is great promise for us. And once they continue at it, with the necessary support, we can expect great things from them.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Lean a little bit in there. Yep. And the cement will grab. Something for the cement always to grab. Grab on.
Right now, we'll cement them down. We'll get between 50 and 100% success rate, and that coral will become a reef. The storm will hit with a lot less force because the coral is actually going to absorb that energy. And even better still, we can come back out here and see all the fish that come to live in it.
Can take that piece of coral and put it in the right position.
Residents of Crown Point affected by the construction of a new terminal building at A&R Robinson International Airport are being assured they'll get all the support possible for their transition to a new area. They were invited to a second community meeting with project manager NIDCO, or the National Infrastructure Development Company, along with the Tobago House of Assembly and other stakeholders. The residents were updated on the approved land acquisition policy.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
A recap of the major developments of this day. Price is a sticking point as Antigua seeks to gain a stake in Scotiabank operations in the Twin Island nation. And in sport, West Indies A lose their 5-match ODI series against India after going down in their 3rd straight game. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CanonNews.com. For more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.